Hey everyone, today's deck tech is on a Starhorn deck that was pretty interesting. I saw it on the Bagoom tier list, and it was Cranky Pandas, I believe, list. And basically, it's a Starhorn zoo deck that features the card Bastion, which is pretty much otherwise unplayed. It's an O5 structure, which means it doesn't move, and I don't think you can buff its attack even, and at the end of the turn it gives all your other friendly minions +1 health. So basically it's a zoo deck that floods the board and then uses the Bastion to kind of up the survivability of the otherwise small minions and get some extra mileage out of them. So starting off, we have Flash Reincarnation. This is pretty standard. It allows you to basically trade mana for cards. Next time your minions summon, costs 2 less, takes 2 damage. It's great with the Mechanters, the Elucidators. We don't have many of the synergies here. Um, there's some, synergies with Earth Sister or Raw and cards like that that we're not including here, and Chimera and things like that. It's not really a cornerstone of the deck, it's just kind of a support card in this deck, whereas in some decks it's kind of the basis. Next, just Blood to Alchemist, solid 1-drop, excellent ping, great card overall. Razor Skin gives all friendly minions +1 attack, put a random battle pet into your action bar. So this is kind of um, a similar effect to Bastions, although it's on the attack side. So if we're playing a deck that plays a lot of minions, then playing something that buffs all our minions is going to be great. It's very cheap. You can just cycle it and get a battle pet into your hand, which kind of also adds to the flood aspect. You can play this card, buff all your minions, play another minion. Just good card in this type of deck. Dietide Friendly gives a friendly minion +1 attack and friendly, and this doesn't go away at the end of turn, although you usually won't get many attacks out of a frenzy minion because your opponent's going to try to kill it right away. It's great with the Elucidator to basically build your own giant Mechanter. It's just a um, very good card in some situations, and you'll just end up replacing it when it's not useful. It can also help you clear the board early with just one of your healing mystics or something like that. It has a couple different uses, but it's very much just a situational card in this deck because we don't have all of the rush minions that really make it great a lot of the time. Shroud, just a pretty common dispel effect. Even though it got nerfed, we're still playing it. Healing Mystic is just a 2/3 for 2 most of the time, although the heal does come into play sometimes. Just a pretty basic 2-drop in this deck. You could probably swap it out for a Primus Fist if you wanted to try that instead. Young Silithars, just a sticky 2-drop, 2/3. Bastion, like we said, this is going to be buffing all your small minions, which we have a lot of, and it's just basically you want to hit the breakpoints. And breakpoints in this game are oftentimes the odd numbers because it is a number of general attacks. So if you, for instance, have the Golden Mantella being a 4/2, the general can kill it in 1 attack. If it becomes a 4/3, then instead of doing 4 damage to the general, if they try to clear it with that, it can now do 8 damage. And similar things happen at, 5 health, and 7 health is getting kind of to the point where you'll probably win in the game anyways. But getting your things basically to that 3 health breakpoint a lot of the time is going to be huge. So if we have things like Young Silithar and stuff that are already 3 health but they attack and then they survive for a turn, or if they just, get buffed twice and become 2/5s, then they're getting in 3 attacks instead of 2. If we can get the Blood Alchemist to a 2/3, it becomes a lot better than just the 2/1. If we can get our Jack's True Sights and its ranged mini Jaxes to a 1/2, and actually in this case 2 is a pretty big deal because a lot of the ping effects, such as Blood to Alchemist, such as Blistering Scorn, which are usually excellent against Jack's True Sight, don't work if all of a sudden it has 2 health. And this is similarly why Kara is good with Jack's True Sight right now, and she buffs the attack. So those are the kind of things. So I guess actually the breakpoints you'll see most often are going to be 2, 3, and 5. So Bastion is going to be situationally a strong card in this deck, and I think in the few games we played, that's what I found. Golden Metella is just part of the flood, basically gives you 2 minions for 1 card. The 2 full body isn't great, but Bastion can help us get a little more mileage out of this. Dumping Wave is usually going to be a 5 damage to the face in this deck, but it also serves as removal for something like an Amara Healer, or just something that's difficult to remove, because it doesn't trigger the Dying Wish as well. Risk Sphere is just an 8 health for 4 mana card, helps you against Songhai, or maybe Fae, or just other aggressive decks. Egg-Morph is just a hard removal, it's unconditional as long as you can get the attack, so it will remove anything and won't trigger the Dying Wishes. Ludicator is some of our burst damage and works well with Diatide Frenzy. It's a very aggressive card. Sometimes you're going to need to replace this because taking the damage to your own face isn't that great. This is something where the breakpoints will be important because the 5/4 will often kill a 2 health minion and then be left as a 5/2. And if instead if you hit the enemy general, for instance, if you were to play this, attack the enemy general, and then they have to attack it back, that could be a 10 damage play, which is very good. But if you attack them, then the Bastion triggers, it goes to a 5/3. Then they're faced with a 5/3, which is much more difficult for them to remove, and they're facing down potentially 15 damage from this one card. So Jack's True Sight, Opening Gambit summons a ranged mini-Jax in each unoccupied corner, so you're getting 5 minions that are 1/1 ranged, and if you get the buff, they can't be pinged off that easily. They're still vulnerable to something like Tempest, but this can really just end the game very quickly if you are able to keep them alive in turn to attack, because having 4 range damage generally helps you pick off cards and trade very well. Mercanta Warbeast, just a very strong card you'll see in most Magma decks, and a similar thing to Mandrake. This is just very strong for helping you clear, helping you do extra burst, works great with Thumping Wave if you ever get to 9 mana, need to do this. Flash Reincarnation is very good with this, just ends up as being a very big board clear. And Mandrake, we're playing a Flood deck, so this will generally be very cheap. So that's the deck. I'm going to get into some games. Thanks.